Caddy Corner, episode 31.
What's up?
I'm Austin.
I'm Caleb.
We're back again at a new outside location.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully you boys are feeling it. This one is new and fun. It's also hot outside.
Very.
In late October in North Carolina, so that's always fun. Today we're talking about
Word.
guys. It's Siri.
I didn't think that she would want to join us this episode
Does that ever happen to you?
all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never had that happen before in my life, other than whenever whenever we would play golf.
Yeah.
Anyways, today we're talking about the everyday carry, what you use every single day, the products, the gear, the stuff that you have with you. I think we both leaned into what is in our backpack mostly.
Yeah.
I also have a section that is about how you figure out what it is that you need to have every day with you on your person. We're just going to kind of go for it and have
Let's
a little
do
fun. Caleb, you can take it away.
Okay. What is in my backpack? First on the list, and probably my favorite item that is in my backpack at the moment, is my iPad and my pencil.
Let's go for it.
Dude, I use it all the time.
Yep.
It's such a versatile little piece of technology. I use it a ton in class for notes, which is probably what I use it the most for. But I also like to do a lot of quick research on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm curious about something, then I'll look it up on my iPad instead of on my phone. I don't know why, it just makes me feel better.
Yeah, sure. I understand that.
And so I use it for quick research is what I wrote down here. And also I watch a ton of YouTube on it now.
Mm-hmm.
Just if I'm eating food or whatever, I'll just pull up my iPad and just set it and let it play. And yeah, it's such a cool little thing. And the little pencil is so much fun.
Yeah.
I have a couple drawing apps
Let's go.
that I like to play around with sometimes. It's a lot of fun.
Are you any good at that? I suck at drawing.
Yeah, no, I'm so bad.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I just do it for fun.
Okay, I understand. I totally get that.
Yeah.
iPad is number 1 on my list too.
Yeah.
I think it is probably my most essential thing that I carry with me every single day.
Yeah.
One time I went to school without my iPad, and that sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my shorter days,
Mhm.
so it was less of a big deal. But that was not as fun. I have very similar, obviously all the same stuff that you said pretty much applies to me. But something that I think is interesting, and I've also had my iPad for a little bit longer, and I just noticed that I use it at specific times and for specific things. So I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I like to cook. I'm chefing up over here a little bit, and so whenever I usually am in the kitchen, I always use this for recipes or watching the YouTube videos.
That's what I'm talking
just
about.
because it's just bigger, and I
Yeah.
can see it easier.
Yeah.
And I don't forget where I put it. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to lose this.
Yeah, definitely.
So I definitely use it for that. And then also I do a lot of planning and stuff like that for the pod and stuff like that. You do the same stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you mentioned that or not. So I actually use Cornell Notes format for my podcast outlines. It just works better for me. It works better for my brain. And yeah, the iPad's awesome. It's
Yeah,
the
they're so
best.
cool.
What do I'm trying to think if I've not said something on the iPad that in a podcast. I use Pinterest on my iPad. I don't use it on my phone. I only use it on my iPad, and that makes me feel good
Yeah.
about myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you just feel like you're doing stuff more intentionally on your iPad than on your phone.
I totally feel the exact same way. And so I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, but I started playing guitar at my church. And so every week I get the songs that I have to learn how to play on Sunday morning. And so there's this little app that we have with the church, and it's called Music Stand, and it'll give you all the music sheets for every song, pretty much in the whole universe. And so, at first, I was using it on my phone, and I was like, what the heck am I doing using this app on my phone? It's like, I'm going to pull it up on my iPad.
Right.
For one, it's bigger.
Yeah,
and
sure.
that is a huge thing.
Huge.
If you don't have an iPad, you don't understand, if size matters. It definitely does, though.
And also, too, a criticism that I definitely have heard from like people that are in like my immediate circle of like why I have the iPad is like it's just a big iPhone. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a big iPhone.
Yeah.
Like that's such a plus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely is.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. When you can be so much more intentional with the
Yeah.
iPad.
Well, because the thing is, like, I'm not gonna sit on this. One time I did this as a joke, and it was not as funny as I wanted it to be. I like downloaded TikTok on my iPad just because I thought it would be funny to scroll through huge TikTok, and
Yeah.
it felt stupid.
Yeah.
Like it felt dumb. So you just, I don't know. Like whenever I'm on my iPad, I don't feel like I'm doing anything stupid. Like
Right.
that's like actively wasting time. And for me, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Even if it is just a big iPhone, if it makes me more productive,
That's
it's
all that
good enough for
matters.
me. That's what I'm saying. So yeah,
Yep.
iPad's same for me. So
So next on my list, I have my laptop, which uh, I use mostly for schoolwork, uh, and also in-depth research. So mostly that type of stuff does come school related, but also like for the podcast too. Uh, I do a ton of research for like what I'm going to talk about on the podcast, and so I like to do that kind of stuff on my laptop, just because I feel like being able to like type in a keyboard and scroll on a mouse just takes it to the next level. I
definitely.
feel like, and so just like how you can be more intentional on an iPad than you could be on your phone, you can be more intentional on a laptop than you could on an iPad. Is how I feel. So a lot of the bigger projects, I like to uh, use my laptop. I also edit uh, the podcast on my laptop. I edit videos for my videography class on my laptop. Uh, Photos that I take, I edit those in Photoshop on my laptop.
Really,
Yeah.
not a Lightroom mobile guy.
No,
I love that experience. Have you ever used it on the iPad?
I've never used it on the
That'll
iPad.
change your life.
Maybe.
That'll change your life.
Uh, but yeah. So, uh, laptop
Yeah,
next on my what's in the
makes sense.
bag
I
essential.
I have an umbrella for my next essential here, and that umbrella is Duh Tech. So your obvious technology that you always bring with you. For me, that's watch, phone, AirPods, always. Um, I just don't know how you can interact with the world without those things.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Um, you always need headphones, especially like for students. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but you don't want to be the guy who has to go out in the hallway and shove the speaker into his ear, and
Yeah,
you don't want to be that guy.
never.
It's not fun.
Everyone looks at you funny.
Yes, exactly. And like you had to get up out of your seat and walk all the way outside. It's like the walk of shame.
Yeah,
Anyways,
definitely.
so AirPods are definitely a huge one. But then like I don't think since I've had my Apple Watch that I've left my house without my Apple Watch. You've talked about that a ton. You love your watch. That's like your number one most important thing in the whole world.
Yeah,
But even like your phone, like you're not leaving the house without your phone. So
definitely
those are
not.
just super important things that, whether you like it or not, or whether it's for better or for worse, you need the essential technology to interact with the world, no matter what you do. So I think
Yeah,
that's super important, and I always carry those things with me. And for me, that like essential technology is phone, watch, AirPods.
yeah,
Um, for other people it might be different, but that's what it is for me. So,
yeah. I feel that
yeah.
totally. So next here on my list, I have my planner, which I had talked about this a little bit. I prefer a paper and pencil planner, and so I have that in my backpack all the time. Anytime I get a due date, I'll write it down. Anytime I schedule an appointment, whether it's a doctor or a meeting or whatever, I'll write that down. So basically, like all my important dates go in there, and also it has like a little spot for notes, and it has a to-do list and all this stuff. Basically, it's what the digital planner is that you guys got for free, but on paper and pencil. That's just what I prefer. But I actually have started doing two different planners. So I'll write everything in my um, paper and pencil planner like the night before. That like my to do list for the next day, I'll write it the night before in my paper and pencil planner, and then the morning of the day, I'll write my to do list on the digital planner. Uh, just so that I can write the things down two times to keep them fresh on my brain. So I've recently started doing that. I haven't really noticed any amount of more getting more done because of that. Just because I already had a to do list anyway.
That also might
And
be too soon
yeah,
to really tell.
but yeah, I'm gonna keep that going just because it seems fun, and I might as well use it since I have it.
Ooh. Um, Going kind of similar to that, I also carry a little notebook and pens always. My notebook is no lines; it's just blank sheets of paper, and kind of the same way that you feel more intentional doing like work and stuff like that on your iPad, I feel even more intentional doing it on like a physical piece of paper because that's kind of not something that I naturally go for. If I need to like brainstorm ideas and stuff like that, like if I just need to come up with ideas for things that I need to do, that is usually where I go to do it. And it's kind of like weird, but it's just because like you don't have the distraction options of being able to like go onto something else outside of the note taking, world that you're in if you're like in a notebook rather than the iPad. So I always carry that with me. Admittedly, it's not something that I use like all the time. Like it's something that I use kind of sparsely, but it is like where a lot of ideas, like I ideate a lot for things that we do for the podcast, are like I kind of come up with them in that notebook and stuff like that. So, but that's just like it is for me. Like I just need to sometimes get away from the distractions of this incredible piece of glass. So I go for the old notebook, and that helps me out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I'm also a big proponent for like good pens. Just get good pens.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just like it genuinely really does. Like I'm at like you pick up the pen and then you click it and then you go to write and it does nothing. That's just such like a terrible like gut wrenching feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes you not want to use a pen anymore.
Exactly. So I get good pens. I really recommend good pens. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean expensive. Just get good pens.
Yeah. So next on my list here, I have AirPods.
There
So
you go. Yeah.
basically the same thing that you said you need AirPods for is exactly why I said I carry AirPods. So I'm not going to go into that in much detail, but I will kind of combine this with my next little point here, and that is chargers.
Good call.
I carry a charger for every kind of technology that I have all the time. So I carry a USB-C charger and then a lightning charger and then also a charger for these headphones because for some reason they're different than literally everything else. And it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. So I always carry a charger for those pretty much everywhere I go just because I have duplicate chargers from all of the things that I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
The only kind of charger I don't carry with me is my Apple Watch charger, and that's because it has a good battery. Stays charged all day. So
Yeah, you'd have to be doing some serious stuff to kill an Apple Watch in a day.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I actually don't carry any chargers with me.
Really?
I carry a portable charger, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Usually I'm home, so I guess that's why though. Another thing that I carry with me most of the time is my camera and an SD card reader. So especially recently, um, it is fall season. I don't know if you guys can see this cool tree back here, but I'm a big fan of leaves changing colors.
Yeah.
And so I've been carrying the camera around. My college campus has a lot of amazing red trees, and I'm a big fan of the red trees. And I remember that from last year. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? Now that it's fall time again, I just carry the camera with me. I've been having fun with that. I don't know. I just really like that.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's like fun. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Also, it kind of sucks because it's just an extra thing to carry around, and you can't like really just throw your camera in your backpack and feel safe and confident about that.
Yeah, no, you definitely cannot do that.
So it's like I got like I'm carrying backpack and then camera strap like around my shoulder, and I like look like I know what I'm doing, which I would argue I do know what I'm doing, but I don't know, just something else to carry around campus, which is not always the best, but sometimes I feel pretty cool doing that. So
yeah, totally.
yeah. So that's been kind of recent, but I go through phases. Like if whenever everything dies out, it'll be less interesting to do that, but at least for the sake of photos. But,
Yeah.
Camera.
Yeah. Cool deal. So the next thing I have here is glasses. So I'm sure, as you guys can tell, every single time we've done a podcast outside, I've been rocking sunglasses. And there's three reasons for that, and I might come up with more as I start talking about it. But the main reason is I have blue eyes and they're very sensitive to the sun. So
Is that real? That's a real statistic.
yeah,
Hmm.
blue eyes are more sensitive to the sun than other eye colors, and so my eyes are already pretty sensitive to the sun. I like to keep my eyeballs safe. I don't want to go blind, so I wear sunglasses. Reason number two, they look pretty cool. I have collected sunglasses for a long time. I wouldn't say collect sunglasses because I don't just like buy them to have them. I buy them to wear them. But uh, like my my thought process is like spend the money on sunglasses. I don't know why. I've always thought like that. So I mean, I have lots of nice pairs of sunglasses, and so I like to get my money's worth. That's another reason why. And then uh, I also carry a pair of normal glasses all the time. I wear those in school. I don't really wear them out of school because most of the time, whenever I'm outside, I have sunglasses on. And if I'm outside somewhere where I don't have to see the board or the TV or something, I don't really need my glasses. But I do wear them in school, so I always carry those around with me.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Another thing that I have recently started carrying with me all the time because it has been getting cold is chapstick.
Mm.
Um, not I really hate chapstick because I think it makes your lips feel weird. But
Yeah, it definitely does kind of
whenever
make
it
them feel
gets
weird.
so cold outside and your lips are just cracking
Yeah,
and
you need it.
bleeding everywhere, you need it. Yeah. So I'm a Carmex guy because I like how I really don't know why because I guess you can squeeze it out and you get like not too much maybe. You can't like drown yourself in Carmex as easily.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's what I use. So with as it's 100 degrees outside today, actually it's in my car instead of in my pockets. But
Yeah.
chapstick.
Yeah, I keep a chapstick and a hand sanitizer in my car at all times.
Yeah,
Most of the hand sanitizer for whenever I pump gas,
sure.
I always put hand sanitizer on after I pump gas. I always get the heebie-jeebies from the gas pump.
Hmm.
It always makes me feel like real dirty.
Yeah, fair. I'm
So
sure that those are like if you could like wipe it with like a rag and see all of the funk on a gas pump, I'm sure it would be absurd.
yeah,
Just because I'm sure that those are not like clean like that. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Yeah.
I'm an Aquaphor chapstick guy. You ever use that?
Nope.
You should try it.
I've only ever used Carmex, and then Chloe uses medicated chapstick, and that makes like your lips really cold and like burn, and I
Mm,
really hate that.
yeah, I would not be vibing with that.
So
But Aquaphor, it's just like, do you know what like Aquaphor is?
no,
So
you've talked
it's
about it on the show before, but
yeah,
I don't know really about it. No.
it's like Vaseline on steroids.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you have like a cut or something and you put it on there,
Yeah.
it'll like heal your cut.
Yeah.
And they make it in chapstick. And so if you have real chapped lips and they're bleeding,
Mm.
Aquaphor's the way to go because it heals them
Hmm.
instead of just like
Making them not chapped.
making them not chapped.
Interesting. I'll look into that.
Yeah, definitely should.
Yeah.
You should.
I'll look into that. Your turn, pal.
Oh, that's all I
That's all you
have.
have? Okay, I only have one more. My last one is hydration and snacks, is what I have written down.
Mm.
So basically, what that means is I always have my water bottle, and by usually I mean pretty much always have some kind of like 911 food in my backpack, which is what I always call it. Normally, it's like a protein bar of sorts,
Yeah.
something that like if I sit outside, it's not gonna melt. I realize a protein bar normally would melt, so maybe that was a bad example, but it's not like something that doesn't need an ice pack, something that can just kind of exist in my backpack in case I like am starving. It was rice cakes for a while.
Yeah.
So very important to have those. You don't want to get hangry or thirsty.
Yeah.
Those are not good things to happen.
Especially thirsty is like the worst one
Yeah, exactly.
because then it's like you don't know whenever you're gonna be home to get some water.
Well, and like the thing is, well, and this is like why I think it's funny is like at my school at least, like they're all like there's water fountains everywhere, but it's like to stick your water bottle underneath and get them. So
Mhm.
it's not like you can like drink out of the water fountain. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of drinking out of a water fountain.
Me either.
I mean, obviously, if it's like you got to do what you got to do, but like you're just walking around campus and you just walk past a water fountain. If you don't have your water bottle and you're like thirsty, that would just make me mad.
Yeah.
So I always have even if I don't drink any that day, it's always in my bag. Even if I go like somewhere that's not to school, my hydro flask is always in my backpack.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just always
Smart thing to have.
Yeah, I don't wanna die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't wanna die. Do you have a how-to section?
Yeah, but I have a couple points I want to make
Hit
first.
it. Hit it.
So, we talk about all these things
Yeah.
that are necessary to us, but figuring out what you need is a very tough thing to do.
For sure.
I know that I struggled with that for a really long time, figuring out my lineup for things that I like needed to carry,
Mhm.
and also to figure out what you need, you have to figure out what you want. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. To figure out what you need, you have to figure out what you want.
Oh.
And so, I have a one more point.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a one more point. And this is what it says. It says, if you don't know what you want, then it's hard for you to make and also to pursue your goals. I think that's fact.
That is facts.
That is a statistical fact.
That's such a good point.
And so my how-to section is not how to find the things that you need necessarily, but it's how to figure out what you want.
All right. I don't know at all, but I have a feeling that our how-to section is going to be fairly similar. I have a very strong feeling it's going to be fairly similar. I think mine is. I don't know. I think it might be though, at least the beginning parts. If you want to go ahead and hit your first, or I can go if you want, or whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, we can just ping pong if you want. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps.
I have 4 steps, and then like 2 points,
okay, that's
or
fine.
4 steps.
That's fine. We can just go for it. I'll just start. So my step number 1 is to figure out what it is that you do and where it is that you are doing said thing. So allow me to elaborate here. So figuring out what you do is what Caleb just said. Like if you're studying science at your school and you have to wear scrubs to class, then you better bring your scrubs. Whereas me, somebody who just likes to make videos, I don't need to bring my scrubs.
Yeah, that wouldn't do you very good.
No, nope. I think it would be pretty crazy if I wore scrubs to one of my classes, honestly. But another thing to keep in mind is, like kind of on the same line, is where are you at physically in the world? So a good example of that is somebody who lives in central North Carolina, I don't have to bring like a snow coat to school pretty much ever. Every single time that it's ever snowed here, it's been canceled. I don't have to take a snow coat to school, or really take a snow coat anywhere, because if it snows, everything's closed. So, whereas if you live in the Rocky Mountains, if it snows, it's just another Tuesday. And so you just bring your snow clothes. So it's important to think about those aspects. Or like another example is like if you live in Florida and it's this time of year, you probably don't have to worry about the chapstick because it's still nice and warm and humid and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's very easy to not know what it is that you are like actively doing and like what you need to think about to bring based off of what you do. But I think something that totally gets neglected is thinking about where you physically are in the world.
Yeah.
So that's my point number 1, is just to not forget those things.
I like it. Mm-hmm. So my kind of list here is based off some questions to ask yourself.
Okay.
So the first question to ask yourself is, what makes you happy? And so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most of the people who are listening to this show right now want to be happy or want to feel happiness.
It's a good assumption.
And but I will say that there are 2 things that usually hold people back from being happy. One of those things is external problems, which, for an example, would be like an issue happening at your home, whether it's whatever, we won't go into details, or if it's the state of our country, or if it's the state of your job, or whatever. Things that you can't personally control. Those are external problems. But another thing that you can control are these things that I like to call internal problems. And internal problems are things like bad attitudes, so always being negative. Or another thing that a lot of people struggle with is not loving yourself. And so these are the 2 biggest things that I think affect your happiness and well-being. And so the only thing that you can really do about that is to fix the internal problems. So you have to throw everything that you can't control out the door because you can't control it. So for one, it's hard to not let those things make you upset, but at the end of the day, you can't control it. So you just have to let it be and let it work itself out, basically. But what you can control is those internal problems. And those are the things that you have to fix to make you happy. And so, what makes you happy? If you've already found what makes you happy, then keep doing those things. Keep doing the things that make you happy. And one thing that we say all the time is find what you love and figure out how to do it for the rest of your life. I think that and this point goes hand in hand because that's kind of what we're talking about in this whole episode.
Pretty much.
So, what makes you happy? First question.
Boom. that will help you
and
get
how to
back
fix
on.
it if you're not happy.
Facts. That's super important things. Super important. My second point for how do you kind of figure out the stuff that you carry that you bring with you every day is everything that you have with you should solve a problem that you had at one time. So a good example is the chapstick situation. I do not carry said chapstick unless it is cold outside because I don't need the chapstick unless it is cold and my lips get chapped. Um, Carrying like my camera with me solves a problem in the sense that I can take better photos of the cool trees that I see around whenever I'm going to class instead of just using my phone. Don't get me wrong, your phone takes pretty good pictures, but um, I also just have my camera, so I might as well. So that's an important thing to think about because a lot of people I think kind of have this issue where they carry too much crap, too much junk. Like
Hmm.
you don't need all those receipts. Like you don't need 700 cards. You don't need like a change of I don't know. Maybe some people do need a change of clothes. You don't need like a half of a tuna sandwich. You just don't need it,
Definitely.
right? So uh, it's a kind of philosophy that I got from making videos, but I've adopted it in a lot of aspects of my life, which is in making videos, you say it whenever you ask how long a video should be. It should be um, as long as it needs to be, but as short as possible. And so, in this kind of sense, you should carry as much as you need, but as little as possible. So that's the way to think about it. That's the way I think about it, at least.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
That's a real good point.
yeah. Just don't carry too much crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can fit everything that I absolutely need in my pockets outside of this.
Yeah.
And I just haven't found pockets big enough for this yet. So
That's probably it'll be a while.
yeah. Well, one day. A boy can dream.
Yeah.
Maybe a fanny pack or something.
Maybe.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of digging with that.
Yeah.
Or like a man purse or something.
Yeah, maybe like a briefcase.
Oh,
But
briefcases
like
are
a
cool.
little briefcase.
Like just one big enough for an iPad.
That's right.
That's what I'm.
That could be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way you think.
Coming soon.
I like the way you think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So next on my list here, the next little question to think about or to ask yourself is, what are your values? And so everybody has values, obviously, and you are more likely to feel better about your choices whenever the choices you make are based off of your values. And so basically, I feel like most of the time everybody will make decisions based off what their values are anyway until they like meet somebody that they change for. And so uh basically what I mean there is like an example, if you meet a girl or you're a girl and you meet a guy or whatever you're into, if you meet somebody and then they're like, "Well, I don't really like this about you, but it's what you love to do," and then you start not doing that because they're like, "I don't really like that," you know, that's whenever things start to go badly. And so, you just have to figure out what you love to do and what your values are and what you value and just stick to those things because they'll make you feel better along the way. And don't change it for anybody else because they're not you.
Facts. Come with heat. Um, my next kind of point here, it kind of piggybacks off of picking your gear specifically for a problem, but you also have to figure out what works for you. So, there's we live in a world now, especially with Amazon, where you can buy 700 variations of the same thing.
Yeah.
So going through that and figuring, I mean, obviously you don't go through and buy all 700 things. There's reviews, there's YouTube videos, there's all these kinds of things that help you figure out what certain products can do versus other products. Better or worse. You can kind of cross compare and do whatever it is that you need to do. Um, that is a daunting process. Like whenever I know, at least for me, whenever I buy like camera gear and stuff like that, or like recording gear, I watch like hours of YouTube videos to try and figure out like what specifically it is that I need and what the differences are and why I should pay $50 more versus not.
I do that exact same
Yeah,
thing.
because you're crazy if you don't.
Yeah.
Like you're nuts if you don't. Because this is the thing, right? Is like there's so much information accessible to us. Like we can go and watch 3 hours worth of YouTube videos to see what we actually want to buy. Like that hasn't always been the case.
Right.
And so I think personally, if you don't do that and you get something and it's like a piece of junk, then you ask for it. Just do your research and find what it is that you need to solve the problem that you get. And also another point that I will make, and I can blanket it in with this is I always stress just buying quality products over just buying like multiple pieces of garbage.
Yeah,
Um, because if you buy a crappy thing and you use it for 3 months and it breaks, then that's kind of what you signed up for.
definitely.
Whereas you could have paid the more money for the higher quality item and it will last you for double or triple or quadruple the amount of time, and that's also what you signed up for. Those decisions are very, clear. Like, yeah, $50 is $50, but there's a reason why the more expensive item is priced more expensively. It's not just because of a brand name or because of whatever. There's a reason why. So
Yeah,
that's super important, I think, to keep in mind. Super
definitely,
important.
definitely. So my next question here, and probably the most important question that I have on my list is, what would you want if there were no limits? So like, if you didn't put a cap on anything, what would you want in your life? And I'll give everyone a second to think of their thing. Okay, that's plenty of time. Whatever came to mind right then, for all you people listening, that's what you should be striving for. No matter what it was, whatever you just thought of is what you should be striving for. And that's basically all I really want to say on that point.
Yeah. I think that goes really well in hand with what I said about there's so much information and options
Yeah,
like now. Like if you want, and we talked about this definitely in the episode that we did where we talked about like the impact of content consumption. But like there's somebody out there that's living your dream life,
yeah,
and you can watch them on the internet and see how they got there. Number one is a very popular one, but also number two, like what some of the downsides are for that. So we live in like a world now, and I feel like I sound like an old person when I say that, but I feel like it's important. But we live in a world now where we have those kinds of options, and we have the information to be able to actually see what our dream life looks like, and
yeah,
that's so important. Like, not everybody's had that. It's a privilege, I guess.
yeah. It
It's crazy.
definitely is.
Yeah, it's super crazy to think about that. So
Yeah, I definitely think
yeah,
so.
that's super awesome. Yeah, definitely just go for it. But I think what you said is like don't settle basically. Like don't settle for what you don't want.
Exactly.
And and that's so important. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And that can just be adopted in like literally every single aspect of life too.
every single aspect.
Yeah. My last point for how to kind of come up with your stuff here is to have fun with it. So I talked about that like research process for finding out the gear that you want. I hope I didn't come off as I was complaining because I love that probably more than anything in the whole world. Figuring out like so last year about this time I built my desk setup and figuring out what keyboard I wanted was so much fun.
Yeah,
And figuring out what monitor I wanted was so much fun. And I love that process so much. And you just have to have fun with it. And it's the same thing as like some people like to go to the mall and they like to find their clothes that way. And that's the same kind of thing. Um, so if that's how you have fun with it, if that's how you have fun with buying new things that you're going to use every single day, if you want to go in person and touch it and do whatever, then do that. Don't ever online shop. The point is you just have to have fun with it because it takes up a lot of time to build the perfect backpack worth of things that you need every single day. It
yeah,
takes a lot of focus.
yeah,
So that's my last kind of point.
totally. My last point here, or last question, is, who do you admire and who are you jealous of? And so, uh, I, you just kind of said this, but there are people out on the internet right now making TikToks or whatever who are living the life that you want to live. So being able to watch that and see how their life goes internet wise, because it's definitely different in their personal life, but just watching them and seeing how they do things is such a cool thing that we are able to do now. But uh, I said, like, somebody that you're jealous of too, and jealousy is not a fun emotion to feel most of the time. But I feel like whenever you are jealous of someone, it's because they have something that you want,
Yeah.
and so uh, just because they have something that you want and you don't have it right then doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to have it. So let the jealousy be fuel for you to strive to reach those goals sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, just uh, I'm gonna cut that part
Okay.
out. I'm done now.
Okay. Cool.
That's gonna
Boom.
yeah.
Okay.
Next
Cool.
thing.
I think that I'm gonna piggyback off that because I think that's a super good point. Is like, and my relationship with that has changed so much because like I've said a couple times like I'm born in China Grove, but like I was raised by the internet. I've said that a lot of times, and I really mean that. But my relationship with creators and stuff that I watch, and I'm not gonna go on too much of a tangent here, but I almost like I don't even get jealous or envy them so much. I just like root for them.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're my friends. Um, and I just look and like another thing too is like you said, everybody's online life versus their behind the scenes life is, I imagine, maybe not for everybody, but there's differences. No matter what, there's definitely differences, and so you have to be able to understand that number one, that not everything is just what you see on the internet, but number two, you have to understand that if you want to be whoever it is that you watch on YouTube, if you want to be, the next Casey Neistat, or I don't really know any like who do girl Emma Chamberlain. Emma Chamberlain's a good example. If you want to be the next version of them, like outside of maybe being a YouTuber, maybe you want to make your own coffee company like Emma Chamberlain does, then you can just watch Emma Chamberlain's videos and see how she goes about her life, and you'll see differences that she has versus you. And yes, she makes a ton of money from making YouTube videos, so there is differences just in that regard, where she can spend however long it takes to make a coffee company and not have to worry about the financial implications of that. That's true, but there was a time where she did not have endless money and she created a YouTube career. So I think it's definitely easy to in that jealousy and envy trap to kind of fall victim and think that everything has always been so easy for these content creators, and that's not true either.
Yeah, definitely.
So because you can definitely come across that way, it's not like that. Everybody has a hard time. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
everybody has like life is hard for everybody. It's not just hard for you. That's a super important thing to think about too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all I have.
Yeah, I have a couple more points I
go
just
ahead,
want to
hit
say
'em.
here. So, with all the questions and that I've mentioned and all the things that Austin has said, these things can all help you figure out what you want. And after you know what you want, then it makes it just that much easier to figure out the things that you need that'll help you live the life that you want to live. So like for us, it's all the things that we mentioned before. We didn't know that we needed those things right off the get go.
Facts.
Like those are all things that we had a problem one time, and so we bought a solution.
Right.
And now these things have stuck with us for however long, and some of the things we've dropped off along the way, and we don't use certain products anymore. But that's just how it goes. And it's the same thing with building anything up. Think of like your personal inventory as just like your custom shop or
Yeah.
whatever. It's things that work well for you, that you like to use, and it's things that solve a problem for you and make it fun while you're solving the problem. And that's really the biggest thing.
For sure.
But whenever you make it fun and whenever you make it personalized to you, then that's whenever you're going to be the most productive, and that's whenever you're going to get the most done.
Yeah, and you'll be the happiest.
Definitely.
So, boom, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
That's all you got, yeah.
That's all I have.
Cool. Well, that, my friends, is episode 31 of Caddy Corner,
31.
which is pretty nuts. So that's super cool. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but if you made it this far into the video, we had like 2 weeks to plan this podcast out because we accidentally messed up the anticipated recording for episode 30. So that's why this episode was like super packed with super good thoughts. So shout out to us for coming up with good stuff.
Yeah.
And having 2 weeks to kind of marinate and come up with really good ideas. So this episode was really good, super value packed, obviously, like every episode that we've ever made is. If you are new, also too, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the IG reels have been popping again, kind of.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So shout out to you guys if you're here from the Instagram. Welcome, hello. Especially if you're this far into the episode.
Yeah, if you made it this far into the episode and you're from the Instagram,
and you're day one, like
you guys are killing it, and I love you.
Yeah, shout out to you guys. But I think that's everything that we have. So there's also after hours. We do this show that's audio only. every single Wednesday,
It's the
which is
best stuff.
it's pretty much just the layback kickback version of this show, with much less notes and much more laughs. So
Yeah,
if you're into that sort of thing, every Wednesday audio only. Um, if you are into more of this show, it's back every single Friday. Don't ask us what we are recording next time for you guys, what's coming out next Friday, because we don't know yet. So if you are new, if you're from the Instagram, make sure to subscribe, like, comment if you're on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, make sure to rate the show, review the show, share it around. Super important. Help us grow. We're trying to get to 1,000 downloads by the end of the year. We are definitely on pace, I think. So make sure to help us out with that because that means a lot as well.
yeah, definitely.
Yep. And I think that is everything. I'm Austin. He's Caleb. Like I said, we're back every Wednesday and Friday. And I think we'll catch you boys next week. Peace.
Peace.